This is Webflow. watching the Crypto Market Update with your host, Chris Marshall. Your home for the latest crypto news, reviews, and updates that can be found around the block. If this is your first time here, then we would like to thank you for watching. If you enjoy the show, please like, subscribe, and share with anyone that you believe needs this type of content in their life. Just a reminder, anything discussed on this show is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. With that out of the way, let's get on with the show.
This is each month they hold a tech talk, which is kind of like a TED talk here at the Power Plant Business Incubator. So go ahead and check them out at www.facebook.com/Ocala Tech Council and get some more information on that. Our second sponsor this week is Customerify. They are the easiest way to collect user feedback. So go check them out at www.customerify.io. That is CUSTOMERIFY.io. All right, great. The sponsor's out of the way. Let's get on with some stories. And I can't tell exactly. I'm going to send myself a message on here. I think internet, my Wi-Fi at least, might be down. So we are testing that. Maybe not, it's just being real slow. All right, with that, let's move on with some stories. In today's crypto market recap, quite a few stories that I'm interested in this week. So let's see what effect they had on your favorite crypto. First, we're over here at CoinMarketCap, sitting just over 19,000 cryptos. Today's market cap still around the $1.75 trillion market cap, 1.25. 24-hour volume sitting just under 90 billion. Bitcoin's dominance at 41.8 and Ethereum at 19.3. Gas is a little high this afternoon, sitting at 70 Gwei. Not as high as it was during the height of gas just a few weeks ago, but it's been high, relatively speaking, in the last few weeks. Let's see what's going on in some of our favorite cryptos overall for the week and today especially. Things have been pretty down. Seen a lot of fear in the market. We're going to talk about why that might be here in just a minute. But yeah, most everything is down with a few exceptions. We got ApeCoin tomorrow, I believe. They have their land purchase, their land grab. So I think they'll be seeing some interesting action with that and ApeCoin this weekend. If you don't currently own any Ape, I would recommend you be very cautious about it buying any. What I would expect to see is when this land comes out, it's going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. When the land comes out, I'm thinking we're going to see a good little drop in the price. So just be wary of that. Yeah, don't get in over your head with something like that. Most everything else is down though, again with just a few exceptions. Stepin is actually doing some pretty interesting stuff today. And then one other coin that I really want to show out is XDC. Where is that at? XDC. So XDC is up a good amount for the day and the week. And I'm not going to do any news on them today. What I want to do is do a overview of what the coin is. And so I'm going to do that as a separate video, I think. Let's move on to the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. Today we're at a 23, yesterday a 24, and last week overall was a 26. Last month we were a little bit greedy. We're at 55. And I think that's pretty fair because if we go to the charts, you see basically this entire month We've been just in a pretty good downtrend. Not really any good spikes up. There's like a week where we were flat, but for the most part, it's been down. And what I think is going on is after we got some of the news about the FOMC meeting that's coming up next week, more on that on Monday's show. But what I think is going to happen is as we get closer to this FOMC meeting, after they announce the Fed fund rate, as we're getting closer, the market is already pricing in some of the bad news that we're going to get. So right now, the entire market is expecting about a 50 basis point increase at the FOMC meeting. And so I think that is already priced in. So what I would expect to see is at the FOMC meeting, which is going to coincide pretty close to the very tip of this triangle here, assuming we stay within this triangle. What I would expect to see is if we get a 50 basis points increase, or even better, a lesser increase of maybe 25 basis points. What I think we see is we break above this line, and that's when we'll start to climb back out of this. If we get something more dramatic, like a 75% basis points increase, I don't think that's been entirely priced in. And what I would expect to see is a wick down below, possibly to about 34.5 for Bitcoin, and then possibly coming back up. I think this is going to play in a lot over the weekend. The fears of this is going to play into the weekend. What I would like to see is this RSI indicator get down to this 30 level. That would be great. I think if we get this here, a quick little wick down below, and come back up, I think that'd be great. That would also retest our overall trend line that we've been watching for quite a few months. If we go over to Ethereum is in a weird spot because it has not actually hit the bottom of its current upward channel like Bitcoin has, which makes me wonder what's going on here. And I mean, it could be simply as like people are looking at something like this, which brings us up a whole lot closer. But Bitcoin right now is testing the bottom of its wicked candle. So I would expect to see something at least like this. Now, this is not a true parallel channel because the top of this movement does not actually coincide with the parallel movement of these two lowest wick points, which is very interesting. So we're getting a little bit of difference from what Bitcoin is doing, and this is where we're starting to see over the last few weeks Bitcoin and Ethereum moving separately. And I'm going to move over to my studio view on this desktop to make certain no one's commenting. Good. All right. Sounds good. Let's move on. So that's it for the charting. We're going to move on from here. First news. BlackRock launches an industry ETF. It names crypto as one of three big opportunities. So this is good news, but it's not a crypto-backed ETF. They are specifically investing in cryptocurrency companies, so companies that are in the cryptocurrency market, like Coinbase. I believe that's their biggest investment with like 11% holding, 11.45. Closely followed by large Bitcoin miners, Marathon Digital Holdings with 11, and Riot, which accounts for 10.41 total holdings. So yeah, very interesting. Not too big, not too exciting. Let's move on to the next story. Proppy partners with Abra to provide crypto-backed real estate loans. Very cool. Finally getting a real-world application for loans with our cryptocurrency. And there's been a few other before. Pipe is one. They are actually doing cryptocurrency-backed loans for miners, which is pretty interesting. I don't think they are currently up and running with that offer yet, but it is coming. Yeah, so blockchain real estate platform Proppy has partnered with Abra to allow customers to obtain home loans using their cryptocurrencies holdings, potentially widening the financial use case of digital assets. It's a roundabout way to do it, but it's very interesting. The they can now put up digital assets as collateral for real estate purchases through Abra Borrow, a cryptocurrency lending and borrowing service. I want to see if they talk about the. Doesn't look like they talk about the where you get liquidated at, but it'd be interesting to see how that all kind of plays out. Now, here's a very interesting one: Fidelity. So I'm not too fond of this exact article, but that's all right. So this article is obviously built by climate geeks, I guess. If you're one of those, no offense, but so Fidelity sparks climate concerns by using crypto in 401ks. They're the first major 401k retirement account provider that is offering their companies, the companies who have retirement programs with them, to have Bitcoin added to their retirement baskets, which is really cool. So 23,000 companies whose retirement program it administers the option to add Bitcoin investments to their 401k plans. The asset management giant announced earlier this week. Very interesting that Fidelity is going to be doing this. And that's a lot of Bitcoin potentially that can be taken off of the market and held very, very long term, which just brings up that use case of Bitcoin or the scarcity of Bitcoin. In that same train of thought, we have 3 countries that we're going to talk about. First is the Bahamas. They have launched their Sand Dollar CBDC, and they are looking to get it listed on crypto exchanges as part of a larger effort to expand its presence in the cryptocurrency industry. Basically, they're looking at potentially being one of the next major countries to accept Bitcoin and make cryptocurrencies legal tender, which is pretty cool. This is the least of the 3. Panama is the next one that I really want to talk about. So they are moving forward with their crypto regulations bill, which was definitely El Salvador had quite a bit. Their president, Nayib Bukele, I think, something like that, went and talked to them and helped them kind of form this. But they are moving forward with it. I would not be shocked to see in the next few weeks that Panama is now a country that is accepting Bitcoin as legal tender. And in that same train of thought, we move on over to Africa. Central Africa Republic adopts Bitcoin as an official currency. Yes, it is now a legal tender in Africa. The second country has finally adopted crypto, or Bitcoin specifically, as a legal tender. So Central Africa Republic has adopted Bitcoin as an official currency. The presidency said on Wednesday, becoming the first country in Africa and only the second in the world to do so. Despite rich reserves of gold and diamonds, Central African Republic is one of the world's poorest and least developed countries and has been gripped by rebel violence for years. A bill governing the use of cryptocurrency was adopted unanimously by Parliament last week, said a statement signed by Obed Namsio, one of those, potentially, Chief of Staff of President Faustin. I'm going to leave it at President Faustin. The president supports this bill because it will improve the conditions of Central African citizens. And that's exactly what we saw in El Salvador after they adopted it as well. We're the first country to adopt it. They've just had massive success with that entire agenda so far. And what we're going to be seeing is as more and more countries adopt it, they're going to have to start holding some of this in reserve. So El Salvador holds, hundreds of millions of dollars in Bitcoin. It won't be long before Africa is probably there as well, also holding tons in reserve. And all that does is it keeps Bitcoin out of the market and driving up that scarcity, which is naturally going to increase the price. Just think about how many millionaires there are in the world currently. There's millions and millions of millionaires. So there's not even enough Bitcoin for every millionaire to have one single Bitcoin. Just puts it into a whole new perspective, So as we do this, just getting towards one Bitcoin is very powerful. It's something I was not focused on most of my cryptocurrency investing days, but here lately I've been looking at it more and considering what it actually is. And I heard this very interesting idea on the topic of why you hold Bitcoin and why most people don't need to. It is digital gold. Think about who holds gold right now. Not many people invest in gold. Not many people have gold on hand. How many people do you actually know that own any gold? Yet it's still the greatest store of wealth in our world. Same thing with Bitcoin. It does not have to be owned and used by every single person in the world to be what digital gold would be, because not everyone uses or even owns or has access to gold currently. It is a store of wealth. So countries, banks, people who are really trying to store their wealth long term, not grow it necessarily, are going to be the ones that are holding Bitcoin. And I'm starting to lean more and more towards the train of thought that Bitcoin could be worth $100,000, $500,000, $1 million. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what that number actually is. I've seen some pretty cool arguments for the $500,000 range. If you watched my coverage from Bitcoin Con 2022, that was a pretty interesting thing that gentleman talked about. How his whole view on why Bitcoin could be over $500,000. So just some stuff to think about. I hope this, went through and everything. It doesn't look like I'm actually having problems on Desktop Studio. Just for some reason on my laptop, while I'm trying to see it in YouTube Studio, it doesn't seem to be working correctly. So with that, I've been your host, Chris Marshall. Please go check out our sponsors, customerify.io and OTech, Ocala's Blockchain Crypto Technology Innovation Council. Doing some cool stuff. OTech's very interesting. If you're in Ocala, you're into tech, go check them out. Look them up on Facebook. There should be a link down below. With